Hello and welcome back to the Ginger Joe Racing Show, proudly sponsored by betting.co.uk. We're back for the first Cheltenham Showcase meeting of the season with my trusted wingman. First, I'm going to go to a fellow who was here last week. I'm going to make him wait. Is Scotty Bad Boy Bud? How are you doing, Scotty?
No good, Jamie. How are you, boy?
Not too bad. And the return of this fella anyway, Ginge, we call him everything. He got his early Christmas present today. He opened them from all its wrapping with his favourite son coming back at Nice on the 10th of November in Marine National. Look at him. He is so delighted. Ginger Joe, how are you?
I'm good, Jamie. I'm good. As you said, very excited now to have the news that the main man is back in action at Nice. Gonna go see how he gets on. And of course, we've got Cheltenham this weekend. Can't wait to see the horses swing around the bend, charge up that hill. It's been a good day, Jamie. It's been a good day, Jamie.
Okay, calm down, mate. Calm down.
Okay, okay.
Before we start, lads, just like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification button and the bell. Give us a good help out, and we'll keep the content coming for the whole season. So, what we're going to do is go through Friday and Saturday at Cheltenham. We have three ITV racings on a Friday with a non-ITV race we're going to go through. Also, we will go through any other race if someone has a selection in the other races. Same on Saturday, we're going to go with three ITV races, and then again another selection if you have it. And we're going to finish off with the Old Roan Chase on the Sunday at Aintree, and maybe give it one or two horses again to catch the eye in other meetings with a nap on each day. So we're going to kick off with the 110 at Cheltenham, is the William Hill top price guarantee novices chase. Over 2 miles, we have a 5 runner field here, headed to the market on the Bet365 prices. Is the 10 to 11 favourite of Pat the Roo, trained by Gordon Gavin Cromwell. Second favourite is She Could Be Anything for Gordon Elliott at 5 to 2. 4 to 1 San Salvador, Joseph O'Brien, Jazzy Matty, 14 to 1, and Noble Anthem at 50s. So we're going to kick off because you're back, Joe. Who wins this?
I'm gonna be siding with a favourite here, Jamie. Might sound a little bit boring. I know he's a cliff horse for quite a lot of people, but and he's a maiden actually still after 10 starts as well, but he's got better in his races. He's not still a maiden for the fact that he doesn't want to pass horses or he doesn't like to win races. He's just been caught out by better horses. And of course he finished second in the or was it third in the Grand Annual, one of the two, off a very similar mark. When it comes to these sort of horses as well, speed figures aren't anything I like to look at too often with jumps racing, but he's got a clear speed figure of 140 here. So I mean, if they're all in line turning for home, I can only see one winner. I know the likes of She Could Be Anything and San Salvador are possible improvers, but I still think with Gavin Cromwell and Keith Donoghue obviously in the saddle, there's not many people that ride Cheltenham much better, especially at this meeting. So I think they're going to kick off with a winner here in the short price favourite Pat Deroux.
Scotty.
Yeah, I'm taking on the favourite in the first, well, the second race of the day, but our first race. I think Path Roux, like Joe said, hasn't won. I think his last win came in January 2023 as a novice hurdler at Navan. Jazzy Matty's running in the race. He's got a bit of experience over fences. Won the Boodles in 2023 at the festival. I think he's pretty well covered with the form. San Salvador, who's going to be running in the race, finished fourth behind Jesse Evans, who is owned by a good friend of mine, Mr. Jack Singleton, and his father Tommy. And I spoke to Jack this evening, and he told me that they thought before the race, Gordon Elliott, and they had a chat, and they thought She Could Be Anything would win the race and beat Jesse Evans, and she was
Can I
second
give
behind
you a
Jesse in the race.
quick word of caution there, Scotty? She, she's actually declared for Clonmel tomorrow as well.
I was just literally going to say there's double entries this
Yeah.
weekend for Cheltenham
Yeah.
all across the card, but she's 5 to 2. And if she turned up, I think she'd be the one that would beat Path to Roo. But if Path to Roo if she doesn't turn up and Path to Roo is favourite, I think 4 to 5 at the moment. It may go off about probably 4 to 9. But if She Could Be Anything turns up, I'd definitely be keen on backing her. I think she's probably got the most improvements still to come out of all of them. So just at the prices at 5 to 2. I don't know the declaration rules if it's 24 hours. I don't know if you'll lose your money still, but I'd be siding with her if she turned up.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just going to be quick and easy because of the ratings and the amount of weight been given. Patru will just win. So we'll just move on there to the 225. is a handicap chase over 2 miles, which is a square in the air handicap chase. The favorite here is Matata at 9-4. 4-1 dancing on my own. Calico is 6-1. Arclight is 7-1. Triple Trade last year's winner is 7-1. Scarface, Coast Guard Station is 14-1. Bar. Scotty, who do you think will win the 225 at Cheltenham?
I think it's a good little race actually. It's quite competitive. There's not much between the first five or six in the market, and I think Dancing on My Own won this race last year, if I remember correctly. For Henry de
Or
Bromhead.
was it him? Or was it Calico and Triple Trade at the November meeting, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the November meeting was
Yeah,
Calico and
yeah,
Triple
yeah, yeah.
Trade.
Sorry there.
So yeah, Calico and Triple Trade. Calico finished second to Triple Trade last year, and I think was giving £9 away. And Calico's actually going to be my selection for the race. I think he's £6 better off and was only beaten, I think, three-quarters of a length. He goes well fresh. Dan Skelton, I think he's starting to target races earlier in the season now. I think he likes to have handicap wins. Obviously, we all know March and that kind of thing. But I think Calico's the best horse in the race, ability-wise. I think I know Matata's in there, who was fourth in an Arkle and played up a bit at Aintree, didn't really, whether he was just a bit over the top come that race. But for me, I think Calico's the winner. And like I said, just the swing in the weights from the race last season, I think he's one to be on. And I think 13-2 is I can see here. I think that's a good price. And Dancing on My Own is obviously going to be going pretty close to a repeat of last year. But just from a price perspective and the swing in the weights, I think Calico's a good bet here.
And Joe?
Interesting one, James. It's like Scotty said about Matata. He's definitely a classy animal, but he is a little bit of a nutter. Like, he's the interesting point as well about this race is Dancing on My Own and Matata. They're both going to be fighting for the lead here, so they are going to go a hell of a pace, and it's just possibly who can last the longest. Dancing on My Own maybe on a rating of 153, but he's a solid jumper. So even though he's got all of this weight, you're probably still going to get the best out of him. Where Matata may hit a fence quite hard, and obviously it's always going to be hard to regain that ground. But he does go really well fresh. That's the only part there where I'd give Matata a bit extra credit. So I am going to side with him here. But the 9-4 is getting rather skinny for a horse that's quite awkward at the same time. I think a lot of people are latching on to the fact that he goes well fresh. One horse just to mention now that could go well for quite a long way is Royal Mur for David Pipe. He's 20-1 here. I like horses that just travel well. He jumps well. I think if you fast forward the race and you get to the home turn, he's probably going to still be sat there on the bridle. Whether he's going to have enough to pick them off at the end is probably another question. But I'll give Matata the benefit of the doubt here, but I wouldn't be taking the 9-4 now. I'd certainly be waiting on the day because I think him and Dancing on My Own actually may switch a little bit in the betting.
Yeah, I'm actually with Scotty here. I really fancy Calico, especially with the swing of the weights that he has with Triple Trade. I think 6-1 I can't see it out of the first three, to be honest with you, lads. And 6-1 each way, he will do for me Calico in this race. And I'm actually pretty strong on it.
Okay.
Moving on to the 3:35 is the 3 o'clock is the grade two novice hurdle, isn't it? Yeah, the Sky Bet novices hurdle, a grade two. And the favorite here is the rapidly improving mare, Gail Marler, now at 4-6. Valgrad at 9-2, Brave Knight 9-2, Imaginarian is 16-1 and 25-1 the rest. Joe, who would you fancy here?
I'd go with Scotty first there, James, just because I know he really likes the mare here. So we'll let him have a little rant away on
Let's
this one.
gotta go.
Yeah, yeah, Gail Marler. I think she's the bet of the day. I'm not an odds-on punter, but it'll probably be one of the only times I'll have a bet on the odds-on early on in the season. I think if you get a Paul Nicholls horse coming into a novice hurdle who's won its last three, and there's a 4-5 to 1 second favourite, it probably tells you that they know how good this horse is. I mean, everything's there to be liked. Won its last five. And the horse that beat in, I think it was in June, Flying Fortunes won the Grade Two up at Chepstow, the Persian War by 7.5 lengths. It just screams out that it's a massively improving mare, and I think it's an absolute load job. I can't see her being beaten.
I'm the same as Scotty. Before we go on to Joe, I think there's nothing to beat Gail Manor, especially it's been around undulations around Galway. Now it's coming to Cheltenham. She's rated 135. She is by far the best horse in the race.
10 lengths
So I
at
think she'll
Galway as
win.
well. It was convincing, wasn't it?
Very convincing, yeah. And I think she'll keep improving. Joe?
Yeah, I mean it's hard to oppose her, isn't it? Again, she's a straightforward horse as well. And if you're looking for a horse that could come out here and possibly be some sort of graded horse, she might possibly eventually become a contender in the Mares Novice
Mhm.
Hurdle come Cheltenham. I know we're a little bit away from that now, but she's on a steep upward curve. It hasn't looked like the handicapper is going to be grasping her yet. And off this mark against these sorts, I think she's going to be really hard to beat. And again, you've got Brave Knight, like Scotty said, for Paul Nichols. He's a nice horse. He actually had a few problems before he came to the racetrack, and I know he's won three since, but I'm desperately worried and concerned about the way they're finishing off their races at the moment. There's certainly something going on in that yard which isn't quite right. So I think a strong traveller, powerful mare, round Cheltenham. I don't see how she gets beat here myself as well.
Perfect. Before we move on to the 410, the 335, a friend of the channel, Mr. Declan Carroll, has the 6-1 joint favourite in Countdonna. I wouldn't put anybody off, and if you get first five on the day, 6-1 each way, would love the ground, would love the trip. And if they go slow, it's 1 over 2 miles. I think Countdonna would have a right chance in the 335. So moving on to the 4:10 is the Alistair Down Press Room Novice Hurdle over 2.5 miles. Now, at the moment, I have no prices here. I have SPs. So whoever wants to go first, any fancy, it is actually an eight-runner race. We have Melina Sixo for Gordon Elliott, Potter's Charm for Nigel Twiston Davis, and Kingston James, who won at Hexmoney's debut for the Cinder Russell. Any fancy here, Joe?
Yeah, I quite like the Twisted Davis horse here, Potter's Charm. But the nearer we're getting to the day, and I think Scotty mentioned Manila 6-0 earlier when we had a chat sort of off camera, and it is concerning me a little bit because he's quite sweet. I'm sure this is the one you were on about, wasn't it, Scotty earlier? No, the Gordon Elliott horse. Ignore me then. Potter's Charm, we're going in. One going away last time. Again, a very straightforward sort of horse. Travels well, jumps well, everything you'd like to see in something coming to Cheltenham. Clearly going to do better. And the Twist and Davis team are getting their horses very, very ready at this time of the year too. So she is, he is the way I'm siding with at the moment. I just keep an eye on the market with regards to this Gordon Elliott horse. If this one gets backed, I think they're going to be telling you something they already know about Manila 6-0. But I'm going to side with Potter's Charm for the time being because he's a nice stay. I think he's a really nice sort for Cheltenham anyway. He should relish the hill as well.
Got it?
Yeah, just what Joe was referring to there. It was She Could Be Anything, the Gordon Elliott horse, which I put up in the 150.
Of
But
course she did. Yeah.
on this race here, I haven't got a massively strong opinion. I probably would pick Manila 6-0, but the thing that makes me feel a bit weird is that Sean Bowen's riding for Keithley in this race, and he's not riding for Gordon. And he's got a 6-4 chance for Danny Gilligan. So whether that's a positive or a negative, I can't really work it out. I don't know what you guys think, but it's a hard one to work out. Potter's Charm is favourite. It's 11-8. I wouldn't be backing it at that price. I don't think the form, what it's done, it's won its maiden up at Worcester. It's hard to work out. And you've got the X point to point horse for Joe Tizard, First Confession, making its debut. I really don't have a strong opinion. If I had to have a bet, I'd probably go Manila 6-0, but it's not a strong opinion.
Right. I have absolutely no clue on this race, but I would move on. Are we going to go naps for Friday before we move on to Saturday?
Yeah. I've got quite a sweet one here, Jamie. In the last, we've got a novice hurdle for the conditional jockeys. Fiercely
Yep.
Proud runs here for Ben Paulin off a marker 129. Now, last year at Newbury, this horse split Jericho de Repene and Lump Sum. Lump Sum, of course, went on to win the Welsh Champion Hurdle a week or two ago. Is now off a marker 141. Fiercely Proud was keen, all you like that day, really fresh. Certainly a horse that's going to come on for it, but he's rated 129 and he has a £10 claimer here, Callum Pritchard as well. So he's effectively running off 119. Now, when I interviewed Ben Paulin a few weeks ago, they did say they're going to give him a prep run before the Great Wood. But if he can't be winning this off a mark of 129 with a £10 claimer, who's actually a valuable claimer too, then I mean, I'd be really disappointed if he couldn't win a race like this anyway.
That's fiercely proud for Joe in the last at Cheltenham. Scotty?
I'm going to be boring. Gail Marler, I think she just wins, and I think she wins impressive, and like could go quite high rank this year in the Mares Novice division.
Yeah, and mine after Friday is in the 225. It's Calico for Dan Skelton. Right, we move on to Saturday, and we have the one. 45 at Cheltenham, um, which is the William Hill betting properly. Properly. Novices hurdle over 3 miles. And at the moment, the favourite I have here is John McConnell's horse, Intense Approach, who was second in the Persian War. Middle force for Gavin Cromwell at 4-1. Fine margin at 5-1 for Willie Mullins. One Big Bang for James Owen at 5-1. Kingston James is running Friday. Donny DeVito for Ross Sullivan at 7-1. Star Diamonds for Emma Lavelle 8-1 and 14-1 Bar. Scotty, we'll go to first. Any fancy in this race?
I'm going to be honest. I looked and I haven't really got. This year, I'm just going to be honest. If I don't really fancy anything strongly, I'm not going to make an excuse to have a strong opinion. I think fine margins in there, but I think he's double entered again. I think he could go in the he's entered in the novice hurdle and novice chase on the same day. So second guess that one. A horse that took my eye was One Big Bang, who's changed trainers in the recent times. He's now with James Owen, who we know is starting to get onto the scene a bit more now with these Cheltenham horses. We know he's best horse at the moment. I think he's like a second or even maybe a 2.5 season novice hurdler. I think um, he's had 2 runs recently since he switched from Paul Tobin. So for some reason, he just seems to, I don't know whether it's just he's improving with age, just a bit more experience. But I thought it was interesting where he hadn't won for a long time, and now he's here over with James Owen. That he's won his last 2. I think 5-1 could be worth just a small bet, but I really don't have a strong opinion. It was the only one that caught my eye slightly, Jamie, to be honest.
I would have no interest in this race either, Scotty. Joe?
Yeah, I've got a bet of the day in here. Funny enough, lads, I'm just on a slight different page here. Obviously quite into the point to point scene. There's a horse in here called Millforce. He had actually 6 runs in point to points, finished third, second, and then won on his last attempt at Ballindenisk in really good fashion. Now I know you have to take the point to point form with a pinch of salt, but he then came out and won first time out for Cromwell at Bellierstown as well in really good fashion. He stayed all day long. Looked like he'd appreciate the step up and trip as well. He did go up and trip next time and finished second to Luck in the City, who's quite a nice horse for Willie Mullins. He's actually got some really decent form in the book. And this one just sustained that duel all the way to the line. He could have passed him with a little bit more pace, but I just think that form can be marked up a little bit because he was quite green early on. Again, he had a good look round at obviously the hurdles, but he learned on the job. He was better. And again, like I mentioned about Celtic Dino a couple of days ago, if you look at him at the start of the race and how he finished the race with like 2 completely different horses, looked like a real learning on the job sort of horse. I'm quite convinced that this is going to be a really smart horse when he's had a few more runs under his belt. Now, whether he can obviously act so well at Cheltenham, it's a big ask for these sort of horses. That is another question. But I think he is a very, very good horse in the making, and I'd advise getting him in your trackers as well. So quite a strong bet here on Millforce. We've obviously got a markup on Intense Approach from running in the Persian War. I've got a feeling this Millforce is a good horse, and he wouldn't be bringing him over if he didn't think so himself as well.
Lovely, Joe. Scotty? Oh, sorry, we will move on to the race of the day, probably the race of the whole meeting, to be honest with you, is the 3:30, the Manchester Holdings hurdle for 4-year-olds only. The favourite here is Gavin Cromwell trained Bottler Secret 11-10. Give me 5 for Harry Dermot 4s. Caliph de Burley for Paul Nichols at 9-2. 5-1 Salver. 7-1 Dodger Long at 13-2. Sorry. Eagles Reign 20-1. I will go first on this one, and I really fancy a horse here. I think 5-1 is absolute ludicrous for
Salva.
Salver because Salver. He's absolutely same rating as Bottler Secret. He was third in the Triumph behind Mansborough and Carrigeese. Now, Bottler Secret was second to Carrigeese at the Punchestown Festival, and the third has gone on and won the Galway Hurling in the Nürburgring, who Scotty absolutely adores. But because of ratings and Bottler Secret has never been around Cheltenham, I think this is net material, and especially if you're a 5-1 each way stealer of a punter, you're going to get more than 8 here. And 5-1, I think this is the bet of the whole weekend, and it's Salver or Gary Moore. I wouldn't put anyone off. Win purposes each way, I can see it beating Bottler Secret, no problem at all. Caliph de Burley is a horse I like, but I went back upon Nichols' horse if you pay me at the moment. He's definitely a big, massive chaser at the line, and he probably might be better on flatter tracks, especially how impressive he was around Kempton last year. And then was beaten by Sergino and Carrigeese at Anitree. But this is my nap the whole weekend, lads, and it's Salver in the Masters Holding. Scotty.
Yeah, I think he's 5-1 for a reason, and I don't think he's going to run. I don't think he'll get declared. It's good ground at Cheltenham at the moment, and I think he's only won on good to soft once. Everything else was soft, 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 and heavy. He came third in the Triumph Hurdle when it was heavy. I think if he was going to run, I think he'd be more like a 7-4 shot, second favourite. He's been drifting all week. I've been looking at the market. I don't think he's going to run, Jamie, if I'm being honest.
Well, there's a bit of rain forecast, which I'm hopeful, and the hopeful thing about the good to soft when he won there in his career.
Yeah, I tell
Well,
you,
they have to have good to soft. I understand that, but if I'm hoping the rain comes, if the rain comes, he'll win.
I don't
I
think he'd
tell you
have
where to
too much.
back him. If he turns up, if he qualifies for the race, which I think he does, is the Jerry Fielding in Newbury. I've got a feeling that's something they're going to look for this year. I don't know if 4-year-olds are eligible for the race though. I think they are just about, aren't they?
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, I understand what you're saying. I went back and forth on the Jerry feeling, but I understand where your angle. Yeah.
I
but
don't
no, for
think
me, no, I think the banker of the weekend is Bottler Secret. I think he's his form is the best in the race. I think. I know third in the Triumph Hurdle was Salva. But Bottler Secret, I think, getting close to Cargeese in that race at Punchestown, and Caliph de Burley's form ties in with that. Got beat, I think, 14 and a half lengths at Aintree. When Cargeese finished second to Sergino, I think Bottler Secret is going to be a horse this year. I'm not saying he's going to be in the next Espoir Dallin, but I think he's definitely got the potential to be a champion hurdle horse. Very difficult for a 4 going on 5-year-old to make that race, but I think he's very, very good. And I think you're going to see a massively improved horse this year. And 66 to 1 for the champion hurdle. There's not going to be many runners again like there ever is in the champion hurdle. I think he's each way. I think if he starts picking off races this year, he's going to cut in price quite drastically. But I think 11 to 8 is a great price for this. I think he'll go off odds on.
Old shot from Scotty for a 66 to 1 shot for a champion hurdle. But anyway, Joe, what do you fancy here?
Yeah, I'm in a bit of both camps really. I don't like Caliph de Burley. Well, in fact, I love Caliph de Burley, but like you, James, I think one for a bit more time, possibly a
Yeah.
fence. He really does look in the mold of one of those. I'm not as concerned about the ground for Salva as most people are. He's by motivator. He showed plenty of speed on various grounds already. I don't understand the concern myself. Now, I've just had a quick look actually. He has got an entry on Sunday at Aintree, and he's about
Mhm.
7 to 2, 4 to 1. But I'm like James, if he turns up here, the form that he's got in that triumph is just massive. You get three places at the 5 to 1. I'm certainly a muggy punter at 5 to 1 each way. But I think you can either give yourself 11 to 8 for Bottler Secret to win or shorter on the day, or you can give yourself a muggy each way price and get your money back if Salva places, which I think is really possible, and you can get 5 to 1 for the win. So uh, I'd probably just edge Salva's way, I think, with Jamie here. I quite like the idea of that as well. Like you said, each way, nothing wrong with 5 to 1 each way. Um, but it'd probably be worth giving a mention as well to Gimme Five, who's owned by Brooks Koepka and Westwood and all. Not totally sure they're going to be here this weekend, but worth a note anyway. And the thing with Salva as well, he's got a decent form line with Dodger Long, who's of course gone on and won since. But Salva beat Balboa by 25 lengths. Dodger Long only beaten by 10 lengths, and he's 2 points bigger. Like so, I think Salva, like Jamie said, if he turns up here, he's the each way punt without a shadow of a doubt. But I would be waiting to the day, like you boys mentioned, just to make sure he's declared. Bottler Secret, clearly a good horse, but I'd take the 5 to 1 each way on Salva if he runs. If not, Bottler Secret takes the race.
Lovely. The last ITV race we covered is the 405, which is the William Hill most top prices novice chase over 3 miles. I have no prices here at the moment, but I suppose this is the most intriguing, probably runner over 3 miles of the whole weekend, owned by JP McManus, and it is the kind of potential horse in Johnny who ran a lot of top novice chases last year. Any opinion, lads, in this race, Joe?
Not massively, to be honest. I'd be
Hmm.
interested, like you said, to see how Johnny Hugh gets on. The John Joe O'Neill team, they get a lot of stick for the way they train their horses. They have a lot of decent ammo and possibly haven't been in the best form in the last 5 years. But now John Joe's teamed up with one of his sons to train the yard. I did watch a video the other day, and they were saying it's given them more opportunity to give their horses individual one-on-one care. Where when you had just John Joe Senior and John Joe Junior in the saddle, they said they weren't really managing the operation the way they should. Now, Jack Dawes is obviously a really big facility, state of the art. If they've given the right care to Johnny Who, and we get to see the best of him from what we saw last year, there's no reason why he can't get very competitive here. I mean, he's a 7-year-old now, so he's coming towards his prime. It's hard to win as a novice at Cheltenham, I think, on your first attempt chasing, but I'd just be interested to see how he gets on, but no betting for me at the moment in this race. If I've had a decent weekend, I'll have a go on the day, but not too interested right now anyway.
And Scotty?
Yeah, just what Joe said. John and yourself, Johnny Who's obviously one to keep an eye on. I think he's going to be a nice novice chaser this year for John Joe. But I think Yates Star's another one to keep an eye on. Probably be close to the top of the market in this race if he gets declared. He was, I think he ran in the Martin Pipe, got pulled up in the race that Better Days Ahead won. And he's come out and won a nice beginner's chase at Listowel recently and beat some decent horses. And a good time Johnny was in that race. He's not the best jumper, but he's still a decent horse. Good time Johnny. Billericay Dickey was in the race who fell. I think it could be between the two of them. But probably just have to wait again to see what the prices are. We haven't got prices yet. But for me, yeah, Johnny Who's the one to follow for the season. But Yates Star could be worth a little bet in the race. I think this one he'd be my fancy. Whatever prices, I'd probably have a bet on him if he's anything over 5 to 2, 3 to 1. Just a small bet.
Lovely. That's the end of Saturday. We have the naps for Saturday. I think Joe has given his nap in the Gavin Cornwell trained Millforce. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah, very keen on this one. Really do want people to keep an eye on him for this weekend. Yeah, absolutely.
My nap, if he runs, is Salver in the Masterson Holdings Hurdle. And Scotty, your nap of Saturday.
Yeah, but Butler's Secret in the Madison Hurdle as well.
Perfect. Now we have a bonus for Sunday, a really top class race, a return of a couple of old favourites. Of course, one of my old favourites is definitely running in this. Whether I'll tip him or not is another story. Is the was it 1 to 13.50, 10 to 2, I'm going to say. It's just season my brain's not working at the moment. In the version bet, Old Roan Limited Handicap Chase over 2.5 miles. And the favourite is Stage Star at 11 to 4, Protectorat at 7 to 2, Manila Drama at 9 to 2, Marble Sands, my fancy, at 6 to 1. Ahoy Senor at 7 to 1, 8 to 1 Chasing Fire. Hitman is 10s, Colonel Harry is 10s, and Solace is 14 to 1 bar. Scotty, we'll start off with you first with a couple of your old favourites inside here. Who would you fancy for the Old Roan Chase?
Yeah, I think this race could be ran 6 or 7 times and you get a different winner every time. I think it's one of those races, isn't it? It's very difficult to predict, but Protector at 7 to 2. I mean, if this was the Ryanair chase, he'd be probably shorter than that. Stage Star and the Hoy Senor would be his biggest rivals and rightfully at the head of the market, the three of them at the moment, I think. But no, I'm going to back Colonel Harry. I think 10 to 1 is a good each way price. He's off 10-2 in the race. He beat Chasing Fire last season, I think, in a 4-runner race at Weatherby. And he ran some cracking races last year. I think he was second to Le Patron over 2 miles at Sandown in heavy ground that day. I think I was there that day, Tingle Creek meeting, and stepped up in trip. And I think he finished fifth or sixth in the race that Grey Dawning won the Turners at the festival. I just think he's a horse with improvement in him this year. I think he'd be. It's very hard to campaign these 2.5 mile horses because they have to go the handicap routes most of the time. The Peterborough Chase, this kind of race. You've got the one at Ascot in late November, early December, ran at Ascot, and then you've got the Grade One at Ascot later in the season. So you'd be pretty sure most of these horses will be fit and trying to get some prize money on the board early on because it's hard to campaign them. And I just think Stage Star, the way Paul Nicholls is in form, well, not really in great form at the moment. I wouldn't be backing him. I think if Hoysenor loves Aintree, maybe just a bit on the short side of the trip for him. I still think he's better at 3 miles. I think it's between Protectorat and Colonel Harry, and I just think at the prices, Colonel Harry is a good bet each way at 10 to 1, and with 11 still in the race, I can't see him being out the first three.
Lovely. Thanks, Scotty. The one I just mentioned there is Marble Sands at 6 to 1. I can see it's been backed in for Graham McPherson. The only reason I started to fancy this horse, it was in the 12 lengths behind Hermes Allen last year at Newbury. Second was Nickelback. Nickelback then went on to win the Scilly Isles at Sandown. Then in November in Ayr, he beat Chasing Fire by 15 lengths, Marble Sands. Then went to Musselburgh and was given a strong pace by the eventual fourth that day in the Pertemps winner in Montmorel. Then he was sixth in the Ayr 3 miler handicap chase on Scottish Grand National Day, which was won by the one and only Sharjah. Fourth that day was a Buffalo Soldier who came out there yesterday. I think was second, beating half a length at Exeter. I think with its weight and its mark, and he'd probably get the 5 pound claim or 3 pound claim. Nick Slatter, who's always on board. I think he loved the pace, and if he keeps up with the pace and jumps well, especially off 10 stone 2, 10 stone 3, sorry. I think he's a cracking bet. I would leave Stage Star alone at the moment with the Paul Nicholls, the way the Paul Nicholls Rare is going at the moment. Protectorate, is working back from the Ryanair, in my opinion. Manila Drama, I can never predict that horse. But I came down, Ahoy Senor, don't go there. But anyway, it's Marble Sands for me in the Old Roan. It's 6-1. Joe?
Yeah, yeah. Bit of a difficult race to weigh up. I definitely wouldn't be, like you said, Jay, I wouldn't be back in Protectorate, especially not first time out of the season. Listened again to Dan Scouting last week. He said he's always going to come on for the run. I think that's quite evident from what we've seen. Again, all credit to yourself, Jane, for putting him up for the Ryanair last year at a massive price as well. We've been talking obviously about the poor form of the Nichols runners. Wouldn't it just be quite cliche though if you came out and won this with Stage Star, like a good jumping performance? Because there's not exactly many class horses in the race. So although I'm contradicting myself here, I could still see Stage Star going well. I just think he's one of these horses that will run well regardless. Manila Drama, I can't have at all. He's been back from 14-1 into 16-1. This is to 6-1. He's a 148 chaser. It just seems like nowhere near good enough for me. Would I be inclined to have a swing at something like Colonel Harry? Possibly. And then you look at a hoist in your way, you always feel like a bit mad backing him. But again, could he just bowl along from the front if he jumps well? I mean, he could be hard to catch. And Lucinda seems to think that she's got to the bottom with him. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to take a chance on a hoist in your here. I know he's got a stack of weight. But I think if he goes from the front, I think he's going to have a really good chance. Because I don't see too many catching him. But I would definitely give a shout out to Colonel Harry as well at 10 stone 2. This is a good horse. He was really unlucky last year. He should have won a graded race. Is it the Henry VIII he should have won last year? He made a bad error and then got caught by, was it Le
Uh,
Patron?
yeah,
That, that,
the Patron went from the front, I think, didn't he? And he came
Yeah.
second to him. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
Sandown, yeah.
I think he was a little bit unlucky that day. Possibly didn't jump too well, but I'm going to be a bit mad here and just take the hit. I'm going to back a Hoisinor. If he gets beat, I'm never backing him again. I've never really been on his side, but I'm going to give him a shot here. Um, Might have a look at Colonel Harry, depending on the conditions on the day.
Lovely. The last bit of the show, we're going to see if anyone has any other horse that you follow or would like to back on the weekend. We leave Joe to last because I think we have a fair idea who Joe is going to pick from his favorite stable. But anyway, Scotty, from any other meeting, any horse that catch your eye to follow for the weekend, maybe back it, keep an eye on it. Who do you think?
Yeah, I've actually got one in the 220 at Cheltenham on the Saturday. Broadway Boy runs in the race. I'll be leaving him alone for the first time, but I'll definitely keep an eye on him for the season. But for me, the top weight, does he know, for Kim Bailey. I like him first time out in his big handicaps. I think he goes well at Cheltenham. He's won there before, and I think it's a good time of year to catch him. And I think he's a bit of a 14-1 in places, and I'd definitely be interested in him. Does he know for Kim Bailey in the 220?
Yeah, the one horse that I like, who I see who's entered up in a lot of novice hurdles in Galway the weekend, is a horse that I put up in Ferry House, and he was absolutely lapped by Redemption Day in a bumper at the Easter Festival. Is a horse called Patter Merchant for Gordon Elliott. This horse won on his debut at Leopardstown last Christmas and beat a horse that a lot of people have put up as a horse to follow, Johnny Jean. Is Sounds Victorious, and he beat him. Now he did receive £10 that day with Harry Swan's claim. But it's just the way he battled to the line against Sounds Victorious caught my eye. Look, he was a bit of inexperienced behind Redemption Day at the Easter Festival last year, but I think he's a horse to follow this year. May not be top class, but might end up in a nice handicap at Cheltenham towards the end of the year. And it's Patter Merchant for me, wherever he turns up at Galway the weekend. Joe, the suspense is killing me.
Oh no,
Who
yes.
are you going to pick?
Sorry to bore everyone. Yeah, we've got a nice horse here from the Barry Connor Yard going at Galway. I think it's the 413. Yeah, the 413 at Galway. We've got a handicap hurdle over 2 miles 6 furlongs. Now, this is a horse that has a chase rating of 141. And Barry seems to think that he could be in the mold of a Ryanair horse. Now, I'm not saying he's going to go and win the Ryanair horse. That's probably not the plan. We've got a lot of good graded animals, but he thinks he can get him to Ryanair level. If he manages to get into the race, happy days. I think you'd say mission complete. But this is a horse that's going to be running off 121 this weekend, £20 lower than his chase mark in a race which is very, very much winnable. Barry has also earmarked the fact that he's going to start him in 2 runs over hurdles before he sends him chasing, so then he can start building up his mark nearer Christmas for the chase races to go towards Cheltenham. But he's £20 well in here. He should be well capable of winning a race like this. I know he's fit. I've been told he's well. He looks good in the flesh too. He if he's going to be winning a race this year, it's going to be first time out of Galway. He's fit, he's ready to go. 20 pounds in on his chase mark, good jumper, and his form over fences is actually pretty solid too. He won at Limerick, and then he went to Punchestown to beat Percival Legalwa in a really deep novice handicap chase. He won going, it was a 4 length victory, but he won going away. He then had Percival Legalwa 4 or 5 lengths back, and they were clear of a field that have actually won some races in their own right this season too. So he runs in a hurdles race this weekend, which doesn't look a deep race whatsoever, off 20 pounds lower. This has got to be a good thing. Now, as I said, he's fit, he's ready to go. No excuses, no excuses at all. He should be taking this race on Saturday in the 4:13.
Lovely, Joe. Thank you. Before I say thank you to my two wingmen, any questions that were put on under the video last week on YouTube, we will answer them next week. Myself and Scotty will be back for talking points, Cheltenham targets, and all that, and preview obviously Down Royal as well. Any questions we will cover on Twitter, obviously. We'll get the tweets out for next week and cover all them, and we'll go through them as well. Don't worry, we won't forget your questions. So, further ado, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. Thanks to the boss, Joe. Thanks for coming back, Joe.
Thanks for having me, Jamie. Didn't think you'd let me back on.
And to Bad Boy Bold, Scotty Rudz, please give him a box of Kleenex next week when Coventry get beaten the weekend when he's over. Scotty.
Thank you, Jamie.
Oh, wow. Thank you, lads, and we will see you next week.